Welcome back everyone to a video, and today we are going over my top 10 wide receiver rankings for fantasy football. Now this is my first video focused on fantasy football on my channel, at least so far. So if you guys like this and want to see more fantasy football rankings and content like that, let me know down below. Otherwise it's still just always football content, but I figured we might as well branch into fantasy football a little bit because the season is quickly approaching and a lot of you guys are starting to do like your drafts and best ball stuff and whatever it may be. So I want to kind of get this ranking out. If you guys want to see more of this, I can do a top 20 or even top 30. I can also do it for quarterbacks and for tight ends and running backs or whatever it is. Yeah, just let me know down below. Starting with number 10 though, we are going to have Davante Adams there, and Davante Adams I think is an amazing wide receiver, but what makes him lower on this list is because of the consistent production, or at least the question around if there can be consistent production. You know, whether it's Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew in there at quarterback, it's obviously not going to be the same production it was in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. That's just kind of a given. So can it be better than last year? In my opinion, definitely. Last year was just a very discombobulated season for the Raiders, especially that offense. I think it can be better this year, but because of the quarterback, regardless of who it is, I just don't see them bumping Adams up really far into the top 10, but I feel like he's still a top wide receiver. He's a number one option. He can lead the team in targets, so he's definitely still someone that has to be in this top 10, but I would say probably on the lower end of that. And then number 9 is Mike Evans. Mike Evans obviously has never had a season below 1,000 receiving yards, so you can kind of understand the consistency you're going to get with Mike Evans, whether it's been Tom Brady or Jameis Winston or Baker Mayfield. Evans has always had a very consistent career, and you kind of know what to expect. I don't see it being any different this year. I don't think he's going to have a top 5 season for a fantasy wide receiver, but I think he's going to be very efficient. Baker is still there. Yeah, their offense might look a little bit different since Dave Canales is gone, so maybe it's a different scheme a little bit, but I think at this point, Evans had a long career. You can understand that it's not really going to change now, at least in my opinion. I think you're still going to be able to start him each week and be confident that he is going to be one of the best weapons on the Buccaneers next to Chris Godwin, who's playing out the slot this year. I think both are great options for fantasy football, but I do think Evans cracks the top 10 wide receivers. And then at number 8, I have Puka Nacua there. And so obviously Puka Nacua had a historic rookie season last year. Basing off last year, you can make a case for him being much higher up here, but it's the question of if he can replicate that. And also, Cooper Kupp is still on that team, so he's not going to be like the sole guy in my opinion, but I think as Kupp gets older, and I think what Nacua showed last year, he's going to be the wide receiver 1 on this team. I think he's definitely a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy football this season. He definitely has potential to lead the team in targets. He can be a great target in the red zone. He's not even that bad after the catch, so this is someone that you can start every single week and be very confident, at least in my opinion. So Puka Nacua there at number 8. And then number 7, I have Garrett Wilson. So Garrett Wilson, despite having terrible quarterbacks with Zach Wilson and I guess Tim Boyle for a time and Mike White, whoever else has been in there, he's always been very productive given, you know, the bad situation he's in. Statistically, he's finished the season with like 1,000 receiving yards, and now finally, and as long as he can stay healthy, Aaron Rodgers is in there, and it seems like Garrett Wilson is kind of being set up for a career year. He should definitely be the wide receiver 1 on this team. He could definitely lead the team in targets, and with Rodgers there, as assuming he bounces back healthy from that Achilles injury, I don't see any reason why he and Garrett Wilson couldn't be a top 5 connection from quarterback to wide receiver this season. I know some people are going like Jets to the Super Bowl. I'm not going to go that high, but Garrett Wilson I think is definitely in for a career year. He's definitely a top 20 receiver in fantasy ball this season, and that's why he's there at number 7. And then number 6 is A.J. Brown. Now, the Eagles had a bit of a regression last season. Obviously, in 2022, they were very, very good. Super Bowl appearance, came up short, but it was a very productive offense. And then last year, things seemed very out of sync. While, you know, Hurts is still a great fantasy quarterback because of all of his rushing touchdowns and all, it just wasn't that same Eagles offense. So I think this season you bring in Kellen Moore for offensive coordinator. You even get Saquon Barkley in free agency. The Eagles kind of revamped their offense apart from losing Jason Kelce. But I think the addition of Kellen Moore for offensive coordinator, I think bring in Saquon. You're already great at receiver with Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. So I think this is going to be a much better season for the Eagles, which I think will translate for A.J. Brown, and I think that translates to fantasy football just because he is wide receiver 1. He can lead the team in targets. He gets a lot of touchdowns. A.J. Brown is someone that I think has a relatively high floor. I think even if he has a underwhelming season, it could still be a very decent season fantasy football wise. So I personally feel very comfortable starting him each week. But at the same time, I might be a little bit higher than the Eagles than some of you guys might be this year. So maybe you'd have him a little bit further down. But I'm still confident in Hurts bouncing back, that offense looking much better, and A.J. Brown still being the guy. For that reason, I have A.J. Brown at number 6. And then next at number 5 is going to be Justin Jefferson. Now, the reason he's so low on here is because of his quarterback situation as well, kind of similar to Davante Adams. For quarterback, you have either J.J. McCarthy, the rookie, or you have Sam Darnold, which I think definitely hurts Jefferson's value a little bit compared to having Kirk Cousins in there. But at the same time, Jefferson still produced last season when he was healthy with like Nick Mullins in at quarterback. So I don't think it's going to be a huge drop-off, even if the quarterback is pretty underwhelming. Justin Jefferson is still arguably the best wide receiver in all of football, and so I think he will still be very productive in fantasy football. But I understand having him pretty low on here because you really don't know what to expect at quarterback. Is J.J. McCarthy going to light it up? Is he not going to start until week 5? Is Darnold going to look good? There's a lot of question marks there, but I think regardless, he's proven to be able to produce in great situations and in bad, and the talent is not in question. He's still wide receiver 1. And in fact, Jordan Addison might miss a few games because of his, possible suspension from his car stuff, so Jefferson might even just kind of be the sole guy for the first few weeks as well. So I think Jefferson has great value this year, considering he's being taken a little bit lower than usual. And then number 4, I have Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, I like him a lot because on the Lions, they are obviously not afraid to air the ball out. And assuming Jameson Williams has a breakout season, or at least a career year compared to his previous ones, it should be him and St. Brown as a top 2 wide receivers with Sam Laporta in the mix as well for tight end. And St. Brown is in an offense that's not afraid to air it out. He's very reliable. He makes plays after the catch to rack up yards. He's a target in the red zone. He does a lot of things really well, and the Lions like him. And honestly, it sounds kind of simple and just kind of dumb to say, but for those reasons, that's just why he's the safest choice in my opinion, at least among the top 5. Even if, I'm not going to spoil the other guys ahead of this, but I think St. Brown still at his floor is a very, very productive wide receiver. And even if, there's always a chance James Williams doesn't take a big step. And then it's still kind of St. Brown as the wide receiver on this team. He played hurt for a majority of the season last year, and you really couldn't tell a whole lot. He was still very productive. The Lions had a great season. So, I don't know. I think he's great. That's why he's up this high. Maybe some people would have him a little bit lower than maybe like Justin Jefferson, but I feel like he's one of the safest picks you could really make. And then number 3 is Ja'Marr Chase, and this is one I can understand people having a little bit lower, but the thing is, I think people have forgotten just how good a healthy Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase really is. There is the question around Joe Burrow's health, but right now it seems like everything is okay, knock on wood. So hopefully he can stay healthy going into the season and throughout the year. Going back to whenever Joe Burrow was healthy, him and Chase were one of the best duos in the entire NFL. Chase has got, I think, 1,000 yards in basically every year so far, including one where he missed quite a few games. So, to me, this is another very safe option with a healthy Joe Burrow. Chase can be an excellent red zone target. He's a big play threat. He can definitely lead the team in targets. T. Higgins is still there, but again, that kind of remains to be seen how productive he is this year because he dealt a lot of injuries last season. I think Chase is still the best receiver on the Bengals. He will lead the Bengals in targets. And I think a healthy Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase can be one of the better connections again this year. And that's why Chase is so high up on my list. And then number 2 is Tyreek Hill. And the thing is, with the Dolphins, the offense really runs through Tyreek Hill. This is this team does not mind to pass the ball. I wouldn't say it's pass happy because you do have like Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane, but they are not afraid to air the ball. They'd probably prefer to give Tyreek Hill the ball because of what he can do when he has the ball. Tyreek Hill has threatened 2,000 yards basically 2 years in a row now. He's gotten very, very close. I don't see why it'd be any different this year. You still have Tua, who you re-signed now, and Hill is amazing after the catch. He's obviously one of the best big play players in the entire NFL. He grabs up the touchdowns. Tyreek Hill is someone you can count on to be the best player on the field for his team pretty much week in and week out, and that is going to be a focal point of the offense as long as he's in there. So again, this is one of those very safe picks. A lot of the guys in the top 5 are. That's why they're in the top 5. But, I guess there is some risk with someone like Ja'Marr Chase. But I think Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown, or Amon-Ra St. Brown, very safe choices, Tyreek Hill included. So he's there at number 2. And then number 1 is CeeDee Lamb. And here's the thing. So apparently they're not super, Jerry Jones had some comment the other day about, he's not super urgent when it comes to getting his contract stall, which I think is ridiculous to say because CeeDee Lamb has proven to take leap after leap since coming to the NFL. I have him number one for a couple of reasons. So number one, obviously looking at Tyreek Hill, he's kind of the focal point of that offense. But for the Dolphins, you still have Jalen Waddle there, and they do have some great running backs like Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane. In Dallas, you have Zeke and Rico Dowdle. You have a very weak running back room. So I think they would actually prefer to pass the ball. CeeDee Lamb is by far the best receiver on that team. I guess 2 would be Brandon Cooks, but he had an okay year last year. Lamb was incredible. I only see Lamb being even better, and in an offense going to want to pass the ball, I really see it being between Lamb and Jake Ferguson as like the top 2 targets at this point. So I think CeeDee Lamb has all the things you want. He has the targets, he has, he can get receptions, yards after catch, touchdowns, a focus of the offense. There's a lot of things that you are very confident in when you're drafting CeeDee Lamb, except his contract right now. So hopefully that can get kind of resolved before the season starts. I don't know if he'll hold out into the season, obviously. If he does, then this list would look a little bit different. But assuming CeeDee Lamb is playing, I think he is the best wide receiver to draft in fantasy football in 2024. So that is my top 10 rankings. If you guys did enjoy, be sure to subscribe to the channel down below. On the road to 1,000 subscribers and actually closing in on 700. So thank you guys for all the support there. I do really appreciate it. Let me know down below any changes you guys make to this list or your personal top 10 or your top 5, whatever it may be. Thank you guys for watching. I do really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.